Hi! Over the last couple of months, after my Rogue Legacy 2 LP ended, every once in a while I would get the itch to play this game again, and the format that I decided to play it in was to see what it would take to get perfect scores in all the combat scars. So this is a project that I've been doing for a little while. It's not actually complete, and also to be complete I'd have to do multiple classes and stuff. This is one single class, just Ranger. The Ranger I was playing happened to get a shockwave spell. And it's not actually all the combat scars. We'll talk about that in a little bit as it goes on. Anyway, so yeah, a simple start, pretty easy to do, just took a few attempts. Most of the others are a lot more serious. So yeah, I just learned that an update to this game has come out just a couple of days ago, and it's a fairly major one. I might want to do some things with it. Anyway, so yeah, scars. I had a huge amount of fun with these when I was doing my Let's Play, and just thought it might be fun to, on my own, see what I could do to get higher scores on them. And the highest score you can get is taking no damage, meeting the par time, which in a combat score is not a big deal at all, and not taking any relics. So yeah, a simple start. Done with 50,000 points, S++. Pretty good. Now, yeah, everything after a simple start took significantly more effort. So 2 masters here. It's maybe, I don't know, like 9 hours of attempts total, something like that. Might have been a little less than that. But it was a bunch. I had to learn all sorts of tricks for doing this. So Ranger. Ranger was the class that I chose to play first for this. If in theory I would finish the project with the Ranger and want to do another class, maybe I'd do a different one. But yeah, Ranger was my first choice, because it was an interesting class that I felt like I just hadn't played enough. And yeah, I don't know how I ended up with the one with the shockwave. I think it was a random roll, like, I didn't actively choose that at the Drift House. I just kind of ended up with it. It made for an interesting thing here. I learned a lot about using shockwave to erase projectiles, and it is not an attack spell. It does almost no damage, so I pretty much will never cast it to deal damage, almost. Yeah, so this whole process was just a fascinating dance of learning, like, how to navigate around projectiles. Like, dodging was the big thing. Getting my damage on is secondary. Dodging is the major component here. But for each one of these scars, it kind of ended up being a process of, first just get a basic idea of what I'm doing, then put together a strategy, then learn to dodge all the attacks, then once all of those processes are done, then I can focus on really getting my damage on. So all the perfect runs you'll see here are, of course, the well-polished ones, or the lucky ones. Sometimes luck is involved, where I'd already learned all the tricks and done the things. Yeah, so I did these all in order, so I kind of get better as time goes on. 2 masters is tricky, but not so bad. I guess the usual strategy here is to focus on just one until he's dead, just so that I don't have 2 in phase 2 at once. 1 target fewer for the rest of the fight. Yeah, there I tried shockwave for damage, 71. It's not nothing, but it's almost nothing. Yeah, so this would go very differently, not only with a different class, but with same class, different spell. There are some parts of this that I don't actually know how I would handle without Shockwave or maybe Windwall. That offensive spell is quite a boon. Yeah, so anyway, 2 masters. Kinda tricky, but not like the hardest, just kinda tricky. Alright, so now let's move on to Bladed Rose, where this was my first major stumbling block here. This is probably well over 20 hours of attempts. Yeah, probably way more than that, actually. I would try it for a few hours in an evening, get somewhere, have to give up, and then, you know, come back the next day, and that kind of went on for weeks, it feels like. I don't know how much it was, but it was a lot. So overall strategy here, focus all my damage on Lamek, ignore Nama. See, Nama's really annoying because she drifts toward me constantly and just blocks all of my arrows. She just wants to protect her brother by putting her body in the way of the things coming his way. So I just had to learn to navigate around her and hit him instead of her. And, oh, there are so many hazards I had to learn to handle here. Like, I memorized all of both of their attacks, and I would have to be watching both of them at all times, and immediately be aware. Yeah, so shockwave was my preferred way to deal with that. That looked kinda lucky. Not all of that might have been intentional. Yeah, so the big thing with this fight, I noticed, was just, like, keeping my eyes on both of them at all times and realizing which attack they were doing once I knew what all of them were. That was the big challenge, and, you know, taking an appropriate action to deal with them. Even so, there were still lots of situations where I could just get cornered and not really be able to do anything about it, so this is extremely tricky. But as long as I have a response to everything that they can do in every situation, it's just a matter of executing that. Easy, right? Ivy Canopy has a huge damage boost, so I'm using it when I can. I noticed the runs where I found the time to use it went a lot better than the ones where I didn't bother. It is quite important. So yeah, this fight, I think I killed Lamek maybe like 3 times total before I managed to do it. Rarely would Nama, like, Nama is not the threat here. It's the Nama-Lamek combination. Just either one on their own is not so much. But Nama did, on her own, manage to kill me a couple of times. It was kind of sad. But anyway, yeah, everything calms down, it's just the one. So yeah, that attack, it'll either be vertical or horizontal fireballs summoned. The first one always goes directly inside me, and let's see, the way the start of this battle went, the horizontal version of that was the move she decided to use first, and I had to shift around just a little bit in my canopy as I was attacking Lamek to be safe from it, because the canopy will absorb it, but not in the first frame, so I'll still take the damage. This is a complicated learning process. When I had mana, I would sometimes just shockwave to get rid of jellyfish flower petals, if it was convenient to do so. Mana management is a kind of big thing here, because, like, with that bow, the ranger's all about, like, big shots not very often. So Ranger doesn't accumulate mana very quickly. I had to be very aware of whether a shockwave would come out or not when I cast it. And it's a 100 mana spell, so it doesn't always come out when I want it to. Anyway, yeah, Bladed Rose took lots of attempts. That was a quite a bit of effort to get that done. Alright, so next up, Closed Space. This was extremely easy. This took like, I think 9 tries total, maybe less. It was almost no time. Just had to learn a couple of techniques and it was not a big deal. Fair bit of randomness in this fight. Just like what movie decides to do does very much change what my strategy is going to be. But yeah, a lot of the time I can hide in the corner as long as he's not jumping specifically into that corner. I learned a lot about remounting the Ivy Canopy after having had to abandon it to dodge something. Like, once you abandon it once, you don't necessarily have to just forget about it. It stays there for a time, and I can sometimes get back on it and get another Spore Burst going. So I try to do that when I can. Yeah, so this isn't the most polished of strategies here. Just, this boss didn't take a lot of attempts, so I just kind of found a way to get it done, and it was fine. Was I sure Enoch wasn't going to start running there, or did I just get lucky? The spitting out potions tell looks the same as the starting running tell to me. Although no, that was the starting running tell. It's a different, like, mouth shape. Okay. Anyway, that's Closed Space. This one was extremely not a big deal. Lots of fun to do, though. This whole process was great. Automatons! Ranger excels at this, but also it's pretty hard. This took quite a few tries. Yeah, so, a thing I had to learn about automatons. Which ones spawn is very random. You get like a set of 4, I think, of one particular type. The ones I like to see the most are the knife, because they can go down with 1 charged arrow. The hammer is not too much of a problem. I think it's 1 charged, 1 uncharged. shield and axe are bad because they take... Let's see, I think axe is also one charged, one uncharged. But yeah, shields are the biggest pain. And then I really... Yeah, so damage was absolutely crucial here in this phase. Like, the most important thing as soon as the little ones were done was to just burn down Kadas the Sword before too many of his friends come. Because once 4 are here, it's just complete pandemonium and I can't really manage it. After that, I just kind of aim at whoever is convenient. Anybody I can get my hands on, but I must not have 4 at a time. Right, shockwave can push things back. In addition to destroying projectiles, that's another way to use it. I'm getting a lot of mileage about being able to from being able to push back the shield by shooting it when it's bouncing around. Yeah, so once it's down to 2, just kind of stay far away, be safe, don't take risks, take your time. Like, this is the scary part. Yeah, use shockwave to push away if you have mana. And just kind of get it done. This looks pretty clean as it is. Well, okay, that turned a little messy there. Yeah, the cleanliness of all the winning runs here doesn't exactly show just how much of a mess it was to get there in a lot of these, but yeah. I was very excited about having solved that one. Pretty good scar. Alright, so this is Spreading Poison. This one was interesting. At first I thought it was going to be super easy. Then I got to Murmur, and turns out... Right, I was standing in a very specific spot there, exactly to counter those actions. Yeah, so 3 Gong heads here. Not too big a deal. I can hold out against them just about indefinitely. Like, this is not the hard part of the fight here. Once I learn my positions and the potential angles of the things they can do to me, Ivy Canopy doesn't protect against the spear throw, it looks like. It just goes right through it. But if I know my angles, I know how to be safe from it. Yeah, so this is not the hard part of the fight. So again, winning runs won't always show how messy the lead-up is. I got ridiculously lucky on Murmur on this run, and that was why I won. I felt like I was going to have to grind this for much longer. But Murmur just decided to be super nice to me with his pattern. Yeah, so as you'll see in a moment, as soon as these 2 die, it is hard to get a hit in on Murmur when he's just constantly filling everything with just all the projectiles. Well, 2 of him are. As soon as 1 Murmur goes down, the fight is over, but, like, getting that 1 Murmur down is real hard without ever taking a hit here. But yeah, like, I worked at this, I couldn't find a lot of ways to accelerate my damage. I can shockwave those big balls of energy. Yeah, like, right now I just... When do I shoot? Very rarely. But now he just decides to be super nice and put things over my head, and I can just sit here and get my damage on. Like, yeah, just look at this pattern. That was just pure luck there. And it was all I needed to get him down. But yeah, see, like, that's more what this fight looks like normally, just these long periods of not being able to deal any damage. So I spent my shockwave, therefore I wasn't able to do that again for a time. Yeah, so this win was all luck. But you know what, I'll take it. Wasn't gonna redo just because I got lucky. Alright, Murmur's closer to dead, of course, so I'll leave Gonghead alone until he's gone. Just have a lot less to worry about. And if I'm all the way up here, her spear can't even reach me. That was kind of a tight squeeze, but I pulled it off. But yeah, this one was a whole lot of fun. So, let me talk about the way this video is going to end. So, this is all but one of the non-class specific combat scars because I just could not get Divergent Dimensions, and honestly that is by far my least favorite scar. I figured it'd be better to release this footage so that it can go somewhere someday than just, like, give up on Divergent Dimensions and just sit on this forever, just because that's not part of it. So everything but Divergent Dimensions is in here. And you know, I also didn't do Narrow Praxis, because that's class specific. And also, I don't know if there is a perfect score on that, since it's different. Okay, the two lovers. This one took me the longest of any of these. Other than Divergent Dimensions, which I guess took infinity time, because it's not done. But the two lovers. This was the only one that was harder than Bladed Rose. Yeah, so Nama, not that bad on her own. In combination with either Enoch or Lamech, this attack, this is the worst. The worst thing. Fortunately, Nama wasn't doing anything during it. Yeah, so the two lovers was the hardest for me. Not like a lot harder than Bladed Rose, but a little harder than it. Yeah, so hard to describe what was so hard about this. It's just such a long endurance round. Nama, once again, just gets her body in the way of what I want to do to the other one in the fight. Those Void Orbiters there, those get extremely in the way during Enoch Phase 2. Yeah, sometimes I wait on the diving bell there to before I go to have the maximum safety from whatever attack is going on. Yeah, so in this fight, it ends up being just a lot of circling around. Like, as soon as I come out of that diving bell and thinking about getting back to the other end of it for another pass through, because that's the only way I know how to be safe from a lot of this stuff. Yeah, I killed him with a spin kick. That's pretty good. Anyway, yeah, so, with Enoch down, Nama is almost free. Once again, just like with Bladed Rose, I did die at least once to Nama alone. Just because, you know, nerves, random stuff, just slip up when I don't want to, but mostly the fight is over when Enoch is down. Mostly. Unfortunately, I could apply the Nama lore that I learned from Bladed Rose here. Know exactly what she'll do at all times. Just not which of those things she'll choose to do at any given time. It is an option not to calm that nightmare and to just deal with its shots on me, but I decided it'd probably be better to try and calm it. So yeah, she's very manipulatable. Like, the best thing she can do, honestly, is that charge move, because it lets me move her exactly where I want her. And often I would use it to move her specifically as far away as I could from Enoch or Lamech in order to be able to get my damage on them. Because otherwise, it's kind of real hard to do that. I wanted to get outside the range of the nightmare before I did the thing. I'd sometimes forget it comes with the fireballs at the end, though. That was the tricky part. Anyway, yeah, so even after Enoch is gone, this fight goes on for a while. There we go. That was an exciting one. This turned out to be the hardest for this process, pretty much. There we go. Let's see, what's left? Is it just the Armada now? Which one is this? No, this is Nightmare Premonitions. Right, Nightmare Premonitions. Oh, I love Nightmare Premonitions. It is one of my favorite scars. It's just such a pure reflex challenge. Just, I know exactly what every attack is. There's only one opponent, but like the path to victory is very narrow. Like, the thing I have to do to dodge each thing is pretty specific. This is the worst attack by far. There's a lot of randomness in how those spread out. There won't always be a safe space to fit through. So I just have to read and react carefully. That's what I would always save my shockwaves for. So a lot of this fight was measuring... Yeah, that's what I would do. I would dodge the first one, because I can usually dodge the first one. Then cast shockwave if I had it, which I didn't there, at such a time that erases the second and third at the same time. So again, yeah, this would go very differently without shockwave or wind wall. Wind wall would probably do at least as well. But yeah, that was Shockwave was very important for surviving the worst attack here. This one's pretty bad too. I had to learn that, like, those resonant projectiles come out at a random angle. I can tell where it is because of where he's looking, but I have to respond differently depending on which look angle he chooses. Because the timing, the positioning, just, it changes. That was the second worst attack, the one that got me the second most. Yeah, so like, I go under if he looks up and toward me, because I just don't have time to get over and kick the thing. Alright, and get to do that in my preferred way. That's a weird Ivy Canopy position. Not sure why I chose that. So we did that too close together for me to have a shockwave, so I had to do it the hard way. Yeah, this is just such an active fight. Like, there is zero downtime here. Both of us are always doing things. Also kind of a long fight. He has a lot of health. Oh, that was a... I saved myself with Shockwave. Didn't have it for this, therefore, but I still managed that somehow. Yeah, sometimes I can get an emergency Shockwave in there and get out of a bad situation like that. Alright, last one after this is just the Armada, right? That one I expected to be the hardest. But once I figured out how to skeleton surf, it became possible. This is probably the third hardest. Yeah, I'd place it after Bladed Rose, I'd say. It's hard. Like, it's definitely hard. It's very chaotic. And yeah, this is very much the opposite of Nightmare Premonitions. It's just, like, pure chaos, way too many targets, never know what's going on. I just have to, like, somehow find safety among the 50 projectiles that are always coming at me. Yeah, so being up in the air like this, if I do it right, it can be kinda safe, but it's pretty dangerous. Ivy Canopy up high. This is not high enough to not get hit by a skeleton jump like that. But it's just far enough away from the top of the screen that I have the time to react to the cannon dance. Otherwise, that can be kind of a problem. Yeah, so that's skeleton surfing. Just be above them, use a spin kick to stay above their head, and shoot down if I need to stall for a bit. And check it out, we're already in the start phase. When it goes well, it goes well. Don't have to worry about the food and the torches, because I can just eat it whenever or not eat it, and if I'm not taking damage, it doesn't make a difference to the outcome of the fight. So I just kind of ignore the food completely. If it lands in my mouth, whatever. If it doesn't matter. Right, Shockwave, pushback on a start works well. But I don't have enough mana to just always do it. I think that was the last Mehujiel's Estuaries. Going down. I'm trying not to get too far left here, I assume. Well, I'm going pretty far left right now. In order to not gain the attention of everybody else who's around. Now we get kind of a little break in the fight, just a few dudes to clean up. Again, Ranger excels at this task. The Scrangers are pretty good at aiming. Like, if they shoot toward me, I pretty much do have to move. I don't think they miss their shots if I'm holding still. So just be aware of that. Manage the number of targets carefully. And just kind of shoot, shoot, shoot. My accuracy is not the best here. Sometimes I just kind of rain arrows down and hope they find a target. And they don't always. Still doing this all with gamepad. I didn't switch to mouse controls or anything. I learned a lot about switching between D-pad and analog stick here. Really, I just used the stick most of the time because I was shooting most of the time. So yeah, Void Beast Angler can be scary. I've already dealt half his health bar in damage though, so that's a good start. But I kind of have to take a break for a moment and deal with the extra dudes. And the projectiles get pretty scary here. They can really stack up. And all those pyrites. Shockwave actually did some good damage there because the pyrites have so little. It can be a viable attack for them. Yeah, just gotta pick my attack moments carefully. Don't be too aggressive or I'll just get overwhelmed. I guess I'm like angling that, angling everything so that it would run into the safe parts of my ivy canopy there. Ooh, that was scary. I remembered a real scary moment during this, and I think that was it. Grazing very close to multiple fireballs. And there we go. Just a little bit of cleanup here. Pirate's a very small target. Kind of hard to hit. Yeah, speaking of small targets, that's one of the reasons I didn't like Divergent Dimensions, because Gregory and Eupraxia are my size, and not easy to hit, and just a pain to fight. I don't like that Scar. Maybe someday I'll get it. Maybe someday I'll do this with another class, but for now I'm just going to be satisfied having gotten this much done. So yeah, that's perfect scores and everything except the last one with the Ranger. And yeah, maybe I'll play this new update that came out, which seems to have added a bunch of stuff. I don't know, I'll have to think about it. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this, and maybe there will be more at some point.